We're back in the studio, and I'm happy to be hosting Janet Smith, the Resident Life Director. Resident Life is a huge umbrella here, and you have lots of areas to cover, but you're going to kind of focus on a particular thing today.
Yes, I'm really excited to be here with you, Fran. Thank you. We're continuing our Embrace Wellness journey today. Mm-hmm. And this month, the topic is emotional wellness, that dimension of wellness. It's so important for all of us. Mm-hmm. And the specific topic related to this month is stress and how we manage it, what it is, how does it affect us, and why living here at Green Spring is so helpful for minimizing stress in our lives. So that's my plan, to talk about stress.
Okay. Well, I was saying to the various camera people here, one of the things about stress living at Green Spring is, besides all the good things about it, it's dealing with all this renovation, relocation, whatever,
yes.
Repositioning, whatever word they want to call it. But we have lots of people to either gripe to about it, or we're sitting at the dinner table, etc. So,
well, hopefully some of the things we talk about today will help people that are watching manage some of the stress around this.
Well, tell us how to do that.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's important to recognize how much impact stress has on our bodies and our systems. The brain sends signals that trigger chemical releases that affect almost every major organ in your body and all of the major systems. So for instance, blood pressure, heart rate, your respirations, your blood sugar are all impacted by stress. And all the major organs are impacted as well. Your heart, your lungs, your colon, your kidneys, your liver. Everything is impacted by stress. So it's really important to understand how to manage stress so that you minimize any negative impact on the system. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we know that stress affects both our mental and physical health, and we're going to talk about both of those things today.
Okay.
The way stress manifests differs from person to person. You probably would reflect stress differently perhaps than I would. Mm-hmm. For me personally, I get very anxious. Let's say I'm driving in traffic and it's very congested and people are whipping in and out and cutting you off. I get a little bit anxious with that and my heart starts pounding, mm-hmm. especially if I've narrowly averted disaster.
That's right, yeah.
So for me, that could be one way I would manifest stress. You could have a mood change and feel really moody or depressed. You could be really irritable. Some people feel very overwhelmed and a loss of control. Mm-hmm. Or sadness and depression are other ways that stress could manifest. So that's the mood part of it. Then as it relates to our body, you could have headaches, muscle tension or pain, chest pain, fatigue, a change in sex drive, stomach upset, and sleep disturbances. Mm-hmm. I have that too sometimes. If I'm stressed out, I'll wake up in the middle of the night. I think that's a common thing where people wake up and they just are so focused on the issue that you're obsessing about, you can't get past it. Yeah. So those are physical manifestations that you might experience mm-hmm. with stress. And the result that might have on you, you might overeat or undereat, you might have an angry outburst, you might drink more, or if you're a smoker, smoke more, or take medication to relieve your anxiety. There could be social withdrawal. Sometimes people don't want to be around mm-hmm. other people if they're really stressed out. Or you could stop exercising, and the worst case would be suicidal thoughts. So those are some of the ways that stress affects us. I'd like to turn our attention now to things we might do to reduce stress.
I was glad you got to that part.
Let's move on, right? So de-stressors could be learning to manage your time better. If you're stressed out because you pack too much in your day or you're trying to mm-hmm. manage too much at one time, I see that a lot of residents are very busy.
Yeah.
And I could imagine that there would be
Yeah.
days when you feel like I've got too much on my plate.
Mm-hmm.
So managing our time, organizing things so that we really leave enough time for all the things that we want to do, time to get to and from our meetings. That's one of the problems we have here at Greenspring, is just getting to the meeting can take so long because you have to walk so far.
Yeah.
And you have to plan that into your day so that you get there on time. Making to-do lists, that's one of my favorites. I don't know about you.
It is.
Your to-do list
I don't
maker?
always check off everything by the
Yeah.
end of the day, but
You can always forward it on to
Yeah.
the next day. And then prioritizing that list so that you really do the things that are important and get done.
or the things that are most fun for you.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Move that up to the top.
That's a great plan. That's probably one of the best ways to de-stress,
Mm-hmm.
is to have enough fun in your life. Because some of us, we're all work and no play.
Yeah.
And that causes stress. So fun is a really good idea. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, lots of times I and others say, "Are we retired or not?" You know, because of what we've put on our calendars.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm sure that it enhances the life of the residents, the things that you're doing, but you can't let your own physical health be damaged by it. And then keeping things neat and tidy around us helps us de-stress. If there's a lot of clutter in your life, that can be stressful.
Okay, what's the solution to that?
Well,
Hire somebody to do it for you.
there are lots of books on organizing now. It's one of the top topics out there.
It really
it's very
is.
trendy.
It really is.
You know, find the joy in tidying up.
You know, we had a speaker here. I think philanthropy brought them in, but I'm not sure. Prior to you arriving, who was doing this whole, he's a television personality, and doing this whole thing about seniors and everything. But one of the things that he said I have never forgotten, when he talks about lists and, oh, you have so much to do today, and he said, can you work for 10 minutes? And so, you know, the audience said yes, and he said, so, you know, like how, and I've practiced that. When I say, oh, I'll empty the dishwasher later. And then it's like, you know, it takes less than 10 minutes to empty the dishwasher.
It does.
But just things like that, I think of that, and my friends and I who were at that event, we laugh at each other because we'll say, well, how long does that take to do, you know? And so
yeah, if you just get started, that's usually half the battle.
And it's interesting, you get started doing that thing you were going to do, empty the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're doing another thing, you know.
The momentum builds.
Yeah.
And when you're in motion, and being active is a good way to reduce stress and keep it at bay.
Yeah.
Another thing that we can do is exercise. You know, that releases endorphins, another one of those chemical triggers that really makes you feel better. So while it could take us a little bit to get there and say, really got to do this, once you're doing it, it's like the 10-minute thing. You get into it and you feel better, and you might go longer than you thought you would. And
It's true.
We're seeing a lot of residents come to the satellite fitness rooms. I'm so happy to see that, because
well, sure, they're right on your hallway now.
They're there.
You can kind of keep track. Watch out, y'all. She's keeping track.
I'm seeing more residents than I've ever seen,
Yeah.
because they're right there.
Yeah.
And it's great to see everybody working out.
Yesterday when I walked by there, I didn't go in. I just walked by.
Maybe next time.
But I didn't realize they had like 3 or 2 at least exercise areas.
Yes.
They weren't just in one room, because they had to try to accommodate all that equipment and everything. And there were people in the various rooms, and then their little office is yet at another room, you know, so.
And then the classrooms at the end there.
Yes.
So they have their classes down there. So there are really 3 different areas.
Yeah.
And then the pool shuttle. So there are still really great ways to do that exercise that makes us feel better. Having an attitude of gratitude, that's also one of the trendy things now, is gratitude is a big thing. There are lots of books and articles being written about it. But having that attitude of being thankful for what we have instead of looking for
what we don't
what
have.
we don't have and
Yeah.
being anxious about that. So having things are not as bad as they appear, you know. And one of the things that I have used to tell my kids when they would get anxious, I would say, is the world really going to stop spinning on its axis if you don't, you know, do this today, or if that person doesn't call you, whatever it is. And when you put it in that perspective, you know,
My line here, and others' lines too, are, did anybody die, you know, because you didn't do whatever it was?
Major thing.
And it's like, put it in perspective.
Yeah.
I agree at that.
What's the worst thing that can happen? And then could I handle that? You know?
Yeah.
So another important thing is our diet. You know, if we eat the right things when we're stressed out, we're going to be less stressed because we'll feel better. So managing to stick to, you know, fresh foods and whole grains, all the things they tell you to eat, vegetables and fruit, does help improve your mood and helps us cope. So if we sit down and eat a lot of junk food, we might not feel that great.
Well, you can't include chocolate as junk food.
No, in fact, dark chocolate is really good for you. It has antioxidants.
Yes.
So you can have that. We talked about sleep a little bit because it's so important in managing stress. Having good sleep habits, bedtime habits. You know, they say you shouldn't watch a lot of TV right before bed. No late night eating. A hot shower is good right before a bath. Warm milk, I don't think I could ever drink warm milk unless it had cocoa in it.
Right.
And that probably would keep you up. But some people, warm milk helps. I think it has tryptophan in it. So going to bed at the same time, keeping the room cool, those are supposed to be sleep routines that would help you. I don't know what you found.
Well, you know, it's interesting when I read or hear people talking about sleep, and maybe I'm incorrect, but it seems to me that older people don't need much sleep at a time. I am a napper. Okay, so I only get 5 or 6 hours sleep a night, but I always manage to get a little nap in the middle of the day, half an hour. I happen to have the good trait of being able to say, I'm going to take a 10-minute nap and do it and wake up in 10
You're
minutes.
lucky, yes.
I am lucky. I trained myself when I worked. And as I got older and it was like the middle of the day, oh my God, I'm so sleepy. And I'd say to the receptionist, I'm going to shut my door, ring my phone in 10 minutes. And I would put my head down and boom, I'd go out like that. And then she'd ring the phone. But it's something that I think older people, I don't know, we could do a poll, but I just think that when doctors say, you know, get 7 or 8 hours sleep, it's like, get real. First of all, our bladders wake us up more than that. I mean,
Indeed, yes.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I think whatever helps you sleep,
Yeah.
you should do. That's my feeling personally.
Yeah.
And if I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't get my mind off some activity I have to do the next day,
Yeah.
I'll just turn the light on and read. And it may only take half an hour of reading.
That's what they say to do. You know, don't fight it.
And then turn the light out, and
Then you're back.
then I'm calm.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, sounds like you've got a handle on that one. Hobbies and activities are another way to reduce stress. We have over 175 resident-driven groups here. And there are so many ways to enjoy your hobbies or participate in a committee. And that socialization is really important.
Yes, it is. I agree.
Then speaking about socializing, talking with other people, getting out of your apartment, don't carry out your dinner every night, go out and eat and talk to people. Social media, meet with friends, join a group. And then if you really have an issue that requires professional attention, we have good resources here.
Yes.
We have our resident service coordinators, who are the social workers. We have Ashley Falcone, who's a new nurse practitioner who specializes in mental health. And then we have Kathleen Taylor, who's our clinical social worker in the medical center.
Right.
And then the physicians. So we have good resources.
We do.
Then there's music. We have lots of musical opportunities here with the concerts and groups. And
You had 14 pages.
I have 14 pages.
Because when you sent them to me, I said, wow, 14 pages, okay.
Yeah, and the last page of this presentation talks about the questions that we can consider.
And ask yourself these questions. Yeah.
Ask yourself.
We have plenty of time, don't worry.
Okay. The first one is, how does stress affect me? What does it look like when I'm stressed out?
What it looks like to me is when I stay in my nightgown all day. I don't even want the phone to ring. I don't want to see.
Leave me alone, right?
Yeah, and invariably a knock comes on the door about 11 o'clock, and I think, wow, who is this? And I go to the door and it's security because I haven't opened my door yet and
there you go.
Dropped the little secure
Yes.
thing.
You can't hide.
And so, but anyway, yeah,
funny.
that's the way when I'm stressed, it's like I want to hide.
Yeah.
Till I sort it out. I have to sort it out because I know that all those things piled up. But I have to do one little bit at a time, and it gets done.
Yeah, well, that's your 10-minute strategy again, right?
You know,
Just
and
chop it into
deadlines.
manageable bits.
I always seem to back myself against deadlines instead of thinking, oh, next week I have to have this done for that meeting.
Yeah.
Well, the night before I might be doing it, but I get it done. So.
Yeah. I'm a preparer, so I like to be ready and get things done in advance.
Okay.
Or else I'm up in the middle of the night.
So here we are, two different
Yeah,
approaches or what we see would stress us, yeah.
But I think the main point is recognition is the first step in problem solving. So once you recognize what your stress manifestations look like, then when it starts to happen, you say, oh, okay, now I need to manage this stress, and then go to some of those tactics we talked about.
Right, right.
So,
and you had 5 questions here.
yeah. The next one is, what is within my control?
Oh,
What can
boy.
I control, and what do I need to let go
That's a
of?
big one.
Some of us are such control freaks, we just want to cling to everything.
Fix everything,
Yeah, and you can't.
Especially if you have children and grandchildren.
I have young adults and a grand dog.
And a grand dog, oh my.
No grandchildren yet. But yeah, there are things in their lives that you can't control.
Yeah, you just have to let them.
Yeah. And they say you're only as happy as your unhappiest child. So
Wow, that's a good saying. I didn't know that saying.
yeah, but it's true. When your kids are upset or struggling, you tend to think about it, and that can be stressful too. So again, managing what you can and trying to let go of some things. It's again, nothing's going to stop.
The world keeps going.
It does. Then what do my family and friends think of the situation? Let me talk to them about it and see if I'm overreacting, how am I showing up in their minds?
That's a really good one.
Yeah, because sometimes someone that's more objective can help you see the answers, like you said.
And sometimes they can say to you, you called me about this same thing about 2 months ago.
Yes.
And how did you solve it then? Or what? I've had a friend do that with me and say, Fran, you had this issue before, and either figuring out how did I get there again, or
Yes.
or how did I handle it. So,
Yeah, it's good to
I know
have.
I'm speaking a great deal about my personal, but this is personal. I
It
mean,
is.
to each of us, and we need to ask ourselves these questions.
Absolutely.
And so what's in number 4?
The next one is, how can I look at the situation as a whole? Like
Yeah.
we talked about, look at the big picture. What are the bigger aspects of this? think about if it's a person that you're stressing with, put yourself in that other person's shoes and try to imagine what they're going through. Or imagine yourself solving the problem and feeling successful afterwards. There's a lot of visual kind of imagery that you can deploy. And then lastly, how can I fill my tank? That means how can I renew myself so that the stress doesn't build up? And there's meditation and yoga, things that we've already talked about, but you have to value yourself and give yourself some self-affirmations, which sounds corny, but it does work.
Yeah.
They talk about self-love, love yourself, which is hard for some of us to do.
Yeah.
But that if you recognize that you are valuable and worthy, it helps.
And sometimes you may be the base for somebody else.
Yes.
How does, when people knee-jerk react to a situation, is that stress or is that something totally different?
I think it can be stress, absolutely. I mean, that's that irritability.
Because sometimes they get it over with that quickly.
Yeah.
Because they knee-jerk react and then it's over for them.
Yeah.
Now they may have
now
caused,
you have their stress on your back. But that's one way people deal with it, is they just let it all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
this has been, I think, very interesting, and that whole wellness issue is what we're going after. And it isn't rehashing old things. It's looking at your life now and your
staying in
and
the
are
present.
you really stressed? Stress can just become part of you.
Yes.
To the point where negativity sets in, etc.
And people become adrenaline junkies. That stress causes adrenaline to rush, and that gives people a certain feeling that if you get used to it and don't deal with it, you can become accepted as normal, and when it's not there, they feel unusual.
Yeah.
So
it's a mystery in some ways, but not really, because of all the things you said, and we know that some of this has a physiological base and also effect. Yeah.
And the solutions also have the same physiological solutions for you.
Yeah.
So it can be a self remedy if you apply the tactics we talked about.
Well, Janet, this has been interesting, and I hope these questions, I think you should put that in everybody's cubby. Those 5 questions. But anyhow, thank you for coming. But before you go, what else is going on in resident life?
I'm glad you asked. I brought a little list of what's coming up in October.
Okay.
As you know, our satellite fitness rooms are up and running, and the pool shuttle is going every day, so we encourage people to continue to come. And we joke about it. It's a workout just to get there, but it's worth it. And we have our Student Appreciation Fund kickoff in October. In the early part, you'll be seeing more about that.
What do you mean by student appreciation?
Staff.
Oh, staff
Yeah, I'm
appreciation.
sorry, not student.
Okay, thank you.
I saw my SAF here, and I thought, student. No, it's staff appreciation. That's an annual thing, right? This is my first year with all of this, so my apologies. And then the Intermissions Family Day is happening October the 14th, where we invite all the Intermissions family and anybody else that would like to come and experience a taste of intermissions to join us. We have a blood drive on the 17th that the Channel 6 is kind of sponsoring.
Right.
And our annual Halloween Pet Parade is at the end of October, so we're getting ready for that.
Okay, and a lot of these things we will see more information about as we get closer to the events.
It'll be on the scroll and the bulletin board.
Yeah.
You'll be hearing and seeing it.
Yeah. Well, obviously, as I said in the beginning, you have a very large umbrella that you oversee, and it sounds to me like you're right on target.
Trying to stay there.
All right. Thank you, Janet, very much for coming.
Thank you.